Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Myriad Paths podcast. If you've seen the pilot episode before this one, well, welcome back. And if you have not, then you can check out that episode right after this one. So, Rui, how have you been since our last episode?
Yeah, man, been doing good. I mean, it's still quite cold here in Japan. It's, as we are speaking at this moment, it's snowing. And it's probably piled up around, 60 centimeters of snow. It has not let down ever since this morning. So, it's the late February and it's still snowing. So,
Okay.
quite fun. How about you?
Yeah.
How's Montreal?
Montreal has been, we got hit with that snow last week, actually. So,
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so it was on Sunday or Monday. Actually, both days. We got hit with I think record snowfall ever since the 1930s or something like that.
Oh my god. Okay, well, that is what you call climate change, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. I think people who recall the back in the day stuff, they would say, yeah, in February the snow would start to smelt, spring would be coming around, but no,
Yep.
now we still have we're still deep in the middle of winter at this time. Okay, so in episode 1, today we're going to talk about our education background, I suppose.
Our origin story.
Right, our origin story. What got us to study abroad, what made us think of it, and I suppose our experiences as well with classes, thinking about fulfilling your credits.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exams and assignments.
Yeah, I've always been curious, how you chose applied chemistry and how you chose Japan in the first place.
Okay.
What was the motivation for you? Why did you choose Japan and why did you choose applied chemistry? Was there any particular reason?
Okay, let's start with the short answer. Short, yeah, because there's always two versions, right? So,
of course.
Short answer is because that was the program that they had in Kyushu University, and it was the most interesting one to me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And for Kyushu University itself, a lot of my friends signed up to it, so that's why I took it.
Okay. I see.
But
so socially, there was a big aspect as well.
Yeah, it was huge. Because a lot of my friends, they decided to sign up. We had a academic fair back then, and then we all decided to give this one a try. And I think back then it was I think it was a backup plan for me. I don't really remember.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, was it your first choice, or did you happen to have a different choice outside of Japan? Or applied chemistry, in fact?
Okay, now we're gonna start the long answer.
Okay,
right.
There you go.
So, initially, talking with my family, with my parents, the plan A is always to go study abroad.
Okay.
So, I didn't really know, when we had the talks for the first time, I didn't really know what country we wanted to go to. I just knew that medicine seemed interesting. Well, interesting.
Medicine. Okay.
Yeah, because, it's the usual Asian family thing. Hey, it makes a lot of money. It's in STEM. Because, right, it's always either medicine, law, or, I don't know, engineering, right?
Right.
And
Make the money, basically.
Exactly. So, and back then, I think my family doctor was also a huge inspiration for that.
Really?
Because
Interesting.
yeah, family doctor, I think, but he was the doctor who was in charge of my health during my childhood. So whenever we had visits to the doctor, and then we talked about him within the family, it's hey, look, either my dad or my mom would be hey, look at that, he's doing good stuff, he's helping out people, and he's making money, So doctor sounds like a good profession.
Fair enough. Okay.
And I did think that way as well. So medicine was the first choice for me as a program.
Okay.
And then as time goes on, I looked around, I looked up which countries are the best places to study medicine in. and Germany came on top at that time.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Germany. But yeah,
Mhm.
Germany is like one of the top places.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And so Germany was your first choice, but why? I guess Japan. What
Mhm.
made you U-turn all the way back to Japan?
Okay, so when I decided to go to Germany, I
Mhm.
also prepared by taking classes in German. By
Ah.
taking German
Mhm.
classes,
Sure.
so extra lessons, and then it just so happened that the school that we went to, they
Right.
had like a collaboration with the German Institute, like Goethe Institute,
Ooh.
it was called,
Okay.
and yeah, I took extra lessons from there. I took some extra lessons in cram school, and I prepared for it.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember exactly what happened, but one day
Mhm.
I just decided that medicine is going to take a long time to study,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Fair
it takes
enough,
like much more commitment than just like a normal undergrad, which is just 4 years. And added to that, it's highly competitive. Like
Right.
you have to be like on top of the crop, and you have to have like the right study habits to be able to excel.
Right. Right. For sure.
And it was a reality check for me because like I was not that. I was not him.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. You're in it. Okay. Fair enough.
Right. So I had to think about: do I really want to continue this path, or do I want to
Uh-huh.
choose something else?
Right. Okay.
And so that's when I decided that I wanted to do chemistry.
Okay.
So well, back then like it's always STEM. So like my from my parents' encouragement, and also like from what I found to be interesting back then,
Okay.
STEM was on top of the list.
Chemistry.
And
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and then well, the usual STEM path is well, either you go physics, you go chemistry, or you go biology, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And so I'm not really good with numbers, so physics is out of the door.
Okay.
I'm not really that fond of memorization as well, so bio is also out of the door.
Okay.
So that left me with chemistry.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and in chemistry, like I don't feel there was too much memorization. Well, there are some, but it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag of memorization
Of course.
and some calculation. So if people know like the counting the stoichiometries, your molars, like all that numbers. Yeah.
Not for me, that.
Okay, right. Later I found out I didn't really like that too.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
that's the story for like later parts of the journey.
For sure. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So that's how you chose chemistry, essentially. And
Yep.
I guess, so Japan is because, was there like a particular like education fair that you went to, or like was there a particular reason why the switch?
Back then,
Mhm.
after deciding that I didn't really want to go to Germany, I decided to try Singapore actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Singapore, like the top schools, like tried NUS and NTU, tried to sign up for I think it was material science program for both.
Okay.
I went through the first screening for like NTU, and then did the test and everything. It was difficult as hell. Like, as expected, top school. So it was really hard to get in.
Right.
Didn't get accepted. With NUS, like even like my document screening got rejected. Like, it was not enough. And then, I went to the school fair, to the education fair at my school.
Okay.
And they had the representatives from Kyushu University there.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
So that's how I got to know Kyushu University at first. And then I saw that they have the applied chemistry program. And when I saw my friends apply to they applied to various different majors. After seeing them apply, I decided yeah, sure, let's go. Japan sounds nice.
Interesting. So really, it's the school education fair that really opened the door for you to Japan.
Right. So that's my side of the story. So now, Rui, what was your going abroad experience like? What was your motivation for going and choosing the place?
Right. For me, I know for you, I think yours were quite focused on education and what you learned and what you liked.
Yeah.
Like the subjects that you liked.
Yeah.
For me, it was more hobbies actually.
Okay.
or what my interests were or are actually. So growing up, I watched a lot of movies, right? Movies were my thing. Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay. Solid choice.
And yeah, and watching that film, it really made me interested in filmmaking,
Okay.
and basically how to produce and make videos essentially. And from then on, my interest for movies kept growing and growing, and that's why after I finished high school in Singapore, I decided to pursue, filmmaking essentially, or film production.
Okay.
In the place where films are mostly made, Hollywood, Los Angeles. And
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, Peter Jackson, he's the, I would say he was one of my inspirations, growing up, like, creating movies just and making sure, like, you include all that subtle nuances of the set and nature. For me, that was really cool. In Lord of the Rings, New Zealand was the background, right?
Yeah.
So having that New Zealand part and the fantasy part of Lord of the Rings, for me, that was astonishing. It was amazing.
Okay.
And that grew into, that made me love movies and movie production. And that's why I went to Los Angeles. Really, my hobbies really helped me decide my studying abroad journey, essentially.
Cool. So, and LA, well, Hollywood, right. Hollywood is the top. Basically, that's like the top of the industry when it comes to filmmaking.
Right. That's where everyone wants to go, right?
Right.
So, yeah. I did that, and after I finished the film part, I was also interested in tourism. And that's why really Lord of the Rings was like the main, the main thing for me, because combining film and tourism was like always been in my mind. And
okay.
Yeah, so I decided to basically do it like in halves. So I went to LA for like film school, and then decided to go for like a normal college after.
Yeah, that's where you studied tourism, right? In the last 2 years.
Exactly. So once I finished like my year and a half in LA, for film production, I decided to transfer to a different university for tourism and hospitality management, and one of the best ones was in New York. So I went to New York University, and I studied there. I joined their hospitality and tourism program, basically.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's my idea. I had always wanted to combine both tourism and filmmaking and film production.
Okay. So, do you have an idea of what you want to combine them into? Or is it more like Lord of the Rings had like the movie aspect, of course, like Lord of the Rings is a good movie, it was influential for you. But the tourism part, I think you mentioned New Zealand. Like, what was the effect of the movie on like New Zealand tourism that got you interested in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Hobbiton, the house of Bilbo Baggins.
Right, yeah, the Hobbit End. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hobbit End. So it's a big tourist attraction to New Zealand.
Okay.
And so it's like one of those things, you're introducing something that wasn't particularly known to the world, essentially, and you do that through the art of movies and videos.
Okay, so
that's
like
sort of
pilgrimages. How like people watch anime and then like they go to places where it was like shot at.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. So things like that. And for me, I want to add that, but introduce areas that are not known. Like, for example, let's take Kyoto, for example, right?
Okay.
When people go to Kyoto, they always go to Kinkakuji.
Right.
Kiyomizudera. Like all these things that's very famous, and it creates over tourism. But there are more places outside of Kyoto that's, if not more beautiful, than Kinkakuji or Kiyomizudera or whatever, right? So it's like these things. I want to use the media of film to introduce these tourism areas to people, and hopefully it can sort of like help solve the issue of over tourism going forward. Essentially, the idea.
Okay.
The image I had in mind was like Nat Geo, National Geographic Channel.
Yeah.
Where they're like introducing the history of the area, because again, there's so much history that there's a lot of story and history that can be told, even without making a fictional story out of it.
Oh yeah, like they're already like an interesting story on its own.
For sure, and that's why I chose, filmmaking and tourism, really.
Ah, okay. So it stemmed from Lord of the Rings.
Indeed, Lord of the Rings.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, Tolkien, my heroes. Alright guys, so that was just a little bit about our motivations on, how we chose our country of destination, and also how we chose our, desired subjects.
Right.
Right? But I've always been curious, right? I've never studied undergrad in Japan.
Right.
And I'm not really sure how the system differs than it is to the Western system.
Oh, okay,
so, how was your experience really, studying in Kyudai?
Okay.
In Japan?
So, I'll have to start with a disclaimer.
Okay.
The program that I went through is specifically called IUPE, which stands for... Okay, so it stands for International Undergrad Program in English. So it's a special program geared specifically for foreign students who wants to study in Japan. And I'm not exactly sure how this is in the other imperial universities that have the IUPE program. But at least in Kyudai, or Kyushu University, the program was in English. So classes were in English. And we had separate classes than the Japanese students. So like Japanese, yeah, so like in our program, like there would be, let's say in one batch, I think we only had around 30 people or less, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So it's quite a smaller class, it's a very small class really, 30 people. Wow.
It's really, really small, yeah.
Okay.
And I often talked about this with we talked about this amongst like us IUP students, and we recognize that like it's quite a peculiar disposition, or like because we're with a small group, so like we're a little bit more tight knit, and
okay,
it creates this like unique experience that I don't think a lot of people get to have, because like probably like you, I'm pretty sure like there's gonna be like hundreds of students in like most of your classes, right?
Oh my god, yeah, especially in like the electives, like the classes that we need to take, like the basics. 200 people, 300 people is very normal. So yeah, 30 people is very small.
Okay, wait, I'm curious about this. So for the required classes, at least, like, was there also lottery for you? Because like I heard like in the US system, like you have to right, like you have to like draw a lottery, right, to get into the classes.
So in my case, right, so the US system, in order to graduate, or at least in my case, in most US universities, you need I think around 128 credits to graduate.
Okay, yeah.
And then I think half of that is general education, like GE, and the others are like required electives and like, for example, like major related stuff that you need to take in order to graduate. So the half of like GE, like the electives, those are, everyone needs to take them. So depending on the size of your university, your classes can be huge, right? So in my case, NYU, there were a lot of students. There were a lot of freshmen and second year students and stuff like that. And so the class sizes were huge. And because the class sizes were huge, it's the lottery system. It becomes lottery when you are trying to join a popular class. So it's well, it's a lottery, but also I would say it's more like, if you're late, you're not making it to the lottery. You're just not getting into the class. It's full.
Right. First come, first served.
Exactly.
Wait list and all that, right?
Yes. So it's mostly like available, wait list, and not available. So in the wait list part, it's a lottery. But if you're not on the wait list at all, well, you didn't get into the lottery. It's kind of like that. Really.
I see. It's kind of like buying concert tickets in a sense.
Exactly. It's like doing a raffle. Yeah. How does Japan's like credit system work? Did you have like those mandatory stuff, electives and stuff like that as well, or?
Okay, so that part we do. We have like a mandatory class, and I think this, I don't know if it's appropriate to call it general education, but basically inside our program, like so we have majors such as applied chemistry, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, aerospace engineering, and one is agriculture. Agriculture is kind of like an umbrella. They can go to biochem and protein engineering, things like that.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But for us, so like for those 5 majors, like there are some classes where all of us have to take. So those are the mandatory classes. So things like your calculus 1-2, your linear algebra.
Oh my god. Okay.
Algebra 1-2 as well.
Yeah.
But like a lot of them are math. One of them is like a general chemistry.
Yeah.
I think biology. No, biology was an elective. Yeah, it was an elective.
Okay.
So we also have like those credit requirements. I think it's around the same number, 100 something, 120 something.
Okay.
And yeah, we have like 2 years of like general classes and then like 2 years of like more specialized ones.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway,
so it's quite similar, I guess. Did you have to take like classes that are not related to your major at all? Like the general classes?
Okay, so that we do.
Okay.
So those classes, at least in my system, it was called. It was an elective. It was an elective, and you just need to obtain a certain number of credits, but you can choose whatever classes you want.
Okay.
And these classes are those outside of our domain. So, because mine was mostly sciences, so these classes are more not literature, more arts, I guess, arts and literature.
Okay, sure.
More culture related.
Sure.
So, for example, like there was a class called Introduction to Law. There's another one called Introduction to Philosophy.
Okay.
And another one called Applied Ethics, I think. Oh, that was a hard one. Applied Ethics.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So honestly, that's not very much different to the American system as well, because I had to take classes that were not related to my what do you call it, major at all, like the general education, like statistics for sure. The one thing I still remember really vividly is art history.
Ooh, okay.
Oh man, I had to learn about, I think it was Renaissance art. So think about Michelangelo, Da Vinci, that art period.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a ride and a half.
So is it just like is it like general arts history, or was it like Western art history?
Yeah, it's
What was that?
it's Western art history. It's mostly focused on European art history. But
right.
So we had to take those kind of classes. So it just how to say this, like it falls under a certain category, like social studies, whatever, or cultural studies, and then you have to choose in that cultural studies part. You have like multiple classes, right?
Okay.
And you choose one from or depending on how much credit you need. In my case, I chose Renaissance art, and the other one that I chose was something called the Black Atlantic. It was about Atlantic. It was
Atlantic.
Yeah, it was about
it
was about basically the history of slavery.
In the US.
Not even the US, history of slavery in general. Like how did it start?
Okay.
So that was not fun. I didn't know anything about it. And it wasn't related to my interest, to my studies at all. So
yeah, that's quite far away, huh?
Yeah, so we at least in the US, it's very common to have like those completely unrelated classes. But you had to do it because you have to graduate, right?
Right. So what was your first choice? Like if you didn't have to take like black what was it? Transatlantic?
Yeah, Black Atlantic. Yeah, Black Atlantic.
Black Atlantic. Okay. If you didn't have to take Black Atlantic, then what was your first choice?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, right, there were like so it's like a cultural related classes, right? That's the umbrella.
Okay.
And underneath it you have many things. So I remember that time there was like Korean history or something like that, like Japanese history, like Vietnam history. So those are the popular ones. So
interesting.
Yeah, for some reason those classes get full even before I logged in. So
sheesh, okay.
Yeah, I guess for like those popular classes that everyone has to take, that becomes like the get, lottery. Like, are you lucky enough,
Okay.
or are you fast enough to be able to get, to click the button? If you're not fast enough, well, sucks to be you.
Right. Yeah. Either that, your internet's not working well. Some stuff happens. That,
Exactly.
Oops,
Yep. And so for me, I was the sucks to be you guy. So
Okay.
I got Black Atlantic, and yep, well, that was a fun experience.
Could really imagine that, because for me, I don't think I had like that lottery system.
Really? Okay.
And just like as a small side bit or like fun fact, like
Yeah.
so some of those classes, like the intro to philosophy, law, applied ethics. There's one even also intro to psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
You also share those classes with Japanese students.
Okay.
So Japanese students who, at least in Kyudai, okay, like I'm not sure in other universities, but in Kyudai, if the students wanted to take some classes in English, like they could choose those classes.
Okay.
So certain classes are taught in English. I think they also have like the Japanese counterpart as well.
Okay.
And for me, even with the large number of students, I don't remember it being a lottery.
So interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know, I've also heard that like in the US, like you have to pay for the credits or something like that.
Pay
like
for the credits.
So like if you take a lot of classes in a semester, then like you have to pay more. Something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically the tuition fee includes up to 16 credits. So
okay.
If you want to take 18 credits, you have to pay more.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. But if you take less, so I think it's between 8 to 16. So I think two to 4 classes basically. So if you take less than 2 classes, you are not getting your money back. You're just wasting money basically.
Okay.
But if you're taking more than 4, you have to pay more essentially.
So if you want it to be, what do you call that? You want to be efficient with their money, then like you take 4
16
per semester, right?
Yeah, which is not easy, by the way. That's a lot of that's tough. I took four classes every semester, and that was rough.
Oh damn, yeah. And like, okay. For one class, how many classes do you have per week? Like, is it like twice a week for like 1.5 hours each, or like?
So
how long is it?
Yeah, that is depending on the class credit size. If the credit size is like 5 credits or something like that, it can be like 3 times a week for 2 hours each.
Oh god, okay.
Yeah. But in general, I think if it's a 4 credit or 3 credit, it's like twice a week for an hour and a half, maybe more.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad. But the bigger the credit
that's...
size, the longer it is.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
what about in Japan though? Is it similar?
So in Japan, most of the classes are 2 credits.
2 credits? Well, okay.
2 credits, right? So they're 2 credits, and then the classes are only once a week for 1.5 hours.
What?
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. What? That's complete different. Wow.
Yeah, like I mean, I had a culture shock when I got to Canada, because now I learned that each classes are 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
You have it once a week. I was like, oh my god, 3 hours up front. I'm like, dude, like I don't have like the mental like brain power for that, you know.
Yeah, it's very common. Like 3-hour classes once a week, or even 3-hour classes twice a week. It's very normal. That's what I got used to.
Yeah, that was a culture shock for me, like going from Japan, because like we had it pretty easy.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, I remember. I think like even one of my friends, like in the program, in the IUPE program, he said like, yeah, it's kind of unusual, because some of my friends in other universities, they have like twice a week for 1.5 hours each. So for us, like we have like a pretty light load.
Really?
And we'll have to ask like someone who went through like the Japanese program, because like I don't know if this is just no, you know what? Actually, scratch that. I think it's just Japanese universities in general. I think.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Well, the more you know. That is very interesting. How about how are the classes? Because I've heard rumors that in most Japanese classes, right, it's mostly like the teachers like, they preach for however long the class is, and everyone listens. But in the US, well, obviously some classes are like that, but in general it's like discussion based, like they will ask you questions and you have to answer and stuff like that.
Right. In that sense,
Mhm.
I feel like this could also be like a difference in major as well, in my opinion.
I see. Okay.
Because in science classes, there's a lot of like I feel like when it comes to like liberal arts classes, like there will be lots more discussion, right?
Sure,
Like let's say like the ones that I took
Mm-hmm.
from the electives, like Intro to Philosophy,
Mhm.
like there was a lot of discussion there. You know, like
Mm.
what do we think about this? What does the teacher thinks about that?
Ah, sure.
And so when it comes to philosophy, there's a lot of discussion.
Mhm.
But when classes, that's more like, let's say, general chemistry or like organic
Uh-huh.
chemistry, things
Right.
like that.
Right. It's
Then
more just.
It's more just lecture, you know.
Ah,
Like, and
fair
when you
enough.
ask questions, it's more to clarify information
Gotcha.
rather than like getting a discussion rolling.
Right. It's more like like a set information really that you can't really change. It's like 1 + 1 is 2.
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like, let's say, when the teacher's explaining something, you don't really get it, then you can ask a question.
Fair enough. I guess. Yeah. I
Right?
guess in that case, it's basically the same as it is in the West.
Oh, okay. Not
Yeah.
not too different then.
Not so different. But sometimes even in like big classes, teachers will like ask you random questions. And
Oh, okay.
They will obviously you're expected to answer, but some don't. a lot of people don't. They just go to class just for the credit and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but I mean, like in a class of like 100, like how would the teacher know who to
Yep.
choose?
yeah, just randomly point at someone, or just it's
Okay.
like an open-ended question. You know, does anyone know blah 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 blah, and then someone
Right,
answers
right.
it or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but speaking about students, right?
Uh huh.
In Japanese universities, how are the students like? Are they like, are they chill? How was your experience?
Okay. Let's start with Okay, let's start with breaking some stereotypes a bit here.
Okay.
Okay, we all know how like people would see the Japanese people, and I think like this is getting way better in social media with the advent of social media. But like people would see like, oh, the Japanese people are very hardworking, like they're so disciplined and everything. And I hate to break it to you, they're humans just like us.
Okay.
So like I remember like when I had like those big classes, like intro to law, like it was a mix of like Japanese and like international students, right? And of course like there's like some Japanese students who were just like, I don't know, like they're playing Clash Royale or something in the back of the class. Some are like watching One Piece while listening to the teachers and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, well there are some students who are really studious and they want to come to study.
Sure.
But just like in any place of the world, there are
Yep.
people who don't really want to be there.
Gotcha.
They're just there for the credits. They heard like this class is an easy A and they're taking it.
Gotcha.
And yeah, there are those people as well.
Interesting. Same thing in the U.S., right? I mean, those that people eating in class, people watching anime in class, completely normal. And some people like, this still surprises me until this day, but some people come in their pajamas. Like they literally got off bed 5 minutes before the class, went to class.
Damn, okay.
And then went back home to sleep again. And I'm like, there you go. Those are some of the random stuff that I saw in my classes. Yeah.
Ooh, and was there a lot of people who like? Is it common for people to wear pajamas come into class in US?
Not really. I mean, if you're really lazy and if you just really got up from bed really late, then I guess you have to wear a pajama. But
Okay.
it's not normal at all. At least you would prepare.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because like eating food, I think it was quite okay. I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, it actually depends on the class. Depends on the teacher.
Yeah.
Some of them are very, very finicky about that. They'll be like, no eating.
Right.
No other sweet drinks, just water or some stuff like that.
No phones and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then some teachers be like, oh, I don't care, man. You bring your food, you bring your whole bento set or whatever. Like, I don't care. As long as they listen to me, that's good.
Right. Yeah. No,
Like,
I think some teachers are just there for their paycheck as well. So.
Yeah. But
is
to
fine.
be fair, like to be fair though, like the teachers who allowed us to eat, most of them are pretty chill.
Yeah, they're super chill. They don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't.
They're
fail
not
the class.
they're not like, oh, I really hate my job. I'm gonna make you more miserable. No, like they're just like, hey man, like if you're eating while you're listening to me, like whatever, that's good. As long as you're listening to me, that's all that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, speaking of grades, you mentioned about grades, like people who don't care about grades and stuff like that. How about you? Like, how was grades for you? Like, how did you approach grades?
Okay. I didn't approach grades with the healthiest of mentalities.
Okay.
I'll have to be honest.
Okay.
Like, grades were grades was I don't know if it still is, but it was like a source of pride in a sense.
Sure.
Like, oh, I gotta be like at the top, or like I gotta be on top of my classes. I gotta have A's and things like that. And so I remember like when I got a C, and to be fair, like it was because of bad study habits, and like the teachers was also pretty strict with their grading.
Sure.
And it was pretty devastating. I was like, damn, like I was like, man, I didn't study hard enough. Oh my god, like I rushed this like one day before and things like that.
Gotcha.
So there was a lot of guilt with it, and it was not the healthiest. It was not too healthy, honestly.
Sure.
Because I was constantly like comparing it with like other people. Like for example, like, hey, my major is applied chemistry.
Right.
And I took general chemistry and I got a B. And then there's like these other kids who got an A. And it's not their thing. And I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing?
Right.
Do I actually belong in this program? You know, like it made me question things, man.
Right. It's like life crisis. I'm like, oh my god, am I supposed to be here, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Like imagine like your first year and your first and only chemistry class, you got a freaking B. Like, it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, because for a lot of students, the grades are their lives, right? Like, oh my god, I gotta get A's.
In a sense, it was too. To be fair, the scholarship that I had was dependent on my grade.
Gotcha.
And it was. If I remember, they had limited quota too.
Sure.
So if your grades drop below to a certain extent, then like you're out from the scholarship.
Gotcha.
So there are external factors as well that compounded with like the personal issues, and that caused me to like caused us to be more competitive with one another.
Sure.
And things like that.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, and well, how's it for you? Like, did you have a good relationship with grades? Like, how was it?
Yeah, for me, like, I don't really care. I've never cared about my grades. So in the US, the system is like, depending on your grades, so you submit your grades, right, in whatever things that need to be submitted for the scholarships, and then from then you get screened again. So you're not guaranteed to get one. So every semester we have to like resubmit our grades and stuff like that. And so even let's say if I scored really well, and I was doing quite well with my grades in general. Even if I scored really well, it wasn't guaranteed that I would get a scholarship or like the amount that I needed. So at some point, because I wasn't getting the amount that I needed for my scholarship, I was like, you know what? I don't want to focus too much on studying itself. I want to get outside of studying as well. But at first, I was focused so much on like getting straight A's. To get the scholarship, but then when I realized, oh wait, scholarship, good, perfect A's, straight A's does not mean getting a scholarship. So that kind of like struck, that kind of broke my not broke my confidence, but I was, it caught me off guard.
Disillusioned, yeah. Like I mean, like what other things were they looking for other than straight A's? If it's not a guarantee,
I don't know. I think it's just because there were just a lot of students who want scholarship. So honestly, I think there's a lottery side going on behind the scenes as well. So, for me, sometimes I was able to get some. Sometimes I wasn't lucky to get some. So, it was unfortunate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, like, were they looking at extracurriculars maybe to factor into that as well?
I'm not sure. Maybe like personal finance and stuff like that as well. I think in general
fair enough.
Yeah, they are more strict towards international students than they are to local students. So yeah, that was my experience. But so after I decided to like basically focus less on the grades. So this is the interesting part about the US system, right? We have a thing called pass or fail.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you had it in Japan, but essentially what it is that as long as you get as long as you get a passable grade, so a passable grade is anything above D, or D and above. F is a fail, right? So
right.
If you apply for a pass or fail, even if you get a D, you will get the credit, but it doesn't count. The D does not count in your GPA.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's
So it's
yeah. I gotcha.
so for example, right?
Okay.
The art history class and the Black Atlantic class that I took,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
was struggling with that class. I didn't know I didn't know what they were talking about, right?
Uh-huh.
So I took a pass or fail, and I think in the finals I got a C minus. But
Okay.
that C minus became P for pass, and that C minus didn't count to my GPA.
That's kind of overpowered, huh?
Yeah, so
I
it's
kind of
like
like that.
it's kind of like a bit of a management strategy. Like if you
Right.
know that you have to take a class that you don't like, that you don't care about in the US,
Mhm.
you can do the pass or fail.
Okay. That's sort of like the system to, what do you call that? To counteract the
Uh-huh.
limited seats, I suppose, yeah?
Exactly. Sometimes when you just get the short end of the stick, right? You
Mhm.
gotta. I think that's one of the I guess additions, like you said, to help with that aspect. But
Mhm.
yeah, I used it to my to all the classes that I didn't want to take, and
I see.
it helped me, maintain quite a high GPA. So I was pretty happy with that.
Right. That's such a nice tool to have. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think like I had something like that.
Really? Okay.
It's just yeah, like you don't. Yeah, I don't remember like that you can choose which classes you can like apply the pass or fail on.
Ah, okay.
Like, no, yeah, I don't think we had those. No.
Okay.
No. It would have been nice for sure.
Of course, yeah.
I would have loved that.
Yeah. So if you got like a C,
Okay.
you have to deal with it. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess maybe,
Mhm.
maybe the reason why we didn't have that is because we didn't have the lottery limited seat system.
Ah, okay.
So
I see.
yeah, like you can take whichever classes you like. There isn't
Uh-huh.
too much limitation.
Fair enough. Okay.
And
Mhm.
I think no. If I had, let's say like, okay, this is a real part. Like in linear
Mm-hmm.
algebra, I got a D.
Oh.
At first, I got a D,
Uh-huh.
and then I
Unlucky.
retook the class and I
Mhm.
bumped it up to B.
Okay.
That
okay.
can happen. Yeah.
Ah, you can retake the
So-
class. Interesting.
Yeah. You can retake, and
Uh-huh.
I don't remember like if there was the highest grade you can get is B or something like that if you retake it. But you can
Ah.
retake classes and improve your grades if you want to.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that system does not exist, at least in my university. So
Oh, okay.
if you got a D and you
So-
didn't pass and fail, well, that is going to be on your transcript.
Oh, no, wait, like that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's game over for you.
Sheesh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, that part's kind of rough.
Yep. Well,
Uh,
Japan and America difference, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Mhm.
And how many chances do you get for like that pass or fail?
Yeah, so pass fail we have I think wow, that's I don't remember. I think over the past over the 3 or 4 years, depending on your whether you joined in as transfer or a freshman.
Right.
You either have 3 or 4, I think.
4 throughout the whole like your whole
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. So choose wisely, as they say.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So you can't be
Wow.
pass failing every single year. So
Right. So it's like four like get out of jail free.
exactly, you have 4 chances, I think. 3 or 4. I don't
Okay.
remember exactly, but
Okay. And how does it happen? Like, let's say like, when do you apply the pass or fail? Is
so
it
you can actually apply at the start of the
Mhm.
semester. Like if you know, okay, I don't care about this class, I don't want to study for it, you apply for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
okay.
So it's like it's like a strategy system. Like let's
Right.
say you're taking 4 very difficult classes,
Yeah.
and let's say this one you don't want to care about, you just need the credits. Then you pass fail
Mhm.
that one and focus on the other 4. That's what I did actually.
See. Okay. So you can't, for example, like let's say, oh, shit, I think I screwed up preparing for the finals. I'm gonna
Mhm.
put a pass or fail on it. You can't really
Ah.
do that.
You can, but there is a time limit. There's a period where you have to apply for it.
Okay.
So you can't just before the finals, it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get a D. then you
Right.
apply For it.
Yeah. That's what. Mhm.
That's too convenient. You have to apply like months in advance.
Okay. So I'm guessing that would be like around the middle of the semester.
Basically, yeah.
That's it.
Midterms, and like if you know that you're not gonna do well, you can apply for the pass fail.
Okay. What happens if you fail a class though? Like in the US system, like if you failed a class, could you retake it to bump it up to a D or something?
Do you know what? I've never failed a class, luckily.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah, thank God for that. But oh man, I think if you fail, you don't get the credit, and it stays on your transcript, and that's it.
You don't get the credit, and it stays on your transcript.
Yeah, it says F. I think.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then so you have to retake a different class in order to basically recover the credits, essentially.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I think so. I think that's the system. I might be wrong because I luckily again, never failed.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully never fail again in my life, but
Right.
But I think that's the system. What about in Japan though?
If you failed, you just don't get the credit, I think. The worst I got was a D. Well, that one stuck for sure. Like the 1.0 sticks.
Oof. Fortunately.
But yeah, but like the Fs, I think you don't get the credits, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, in the US, it's a big fat F on your transcript. So.
My God.
Don't fail your classes, guys. Don't fail your classes.
Okay, so we talked in length about right. That was yeah. We talked quite a lot about our motivation, our reason for studying abroad, choosing the country, major, and we also recounted our experiences, right?
Yeah, and the differences as well. That was very
right. Like it was nice. It was nice knowing, like learning how like what other countries are like their experiences. And so I guess what do we learn from this? Let's start from you. So what did you like from like your whole studying abroad experience so far? What was your takeaway?
Yeah, not only from my own experience, but just listening to your experience as well. I think it's so, it's very interesting to see the differences between the two of them. There are obviously some similarities, but I think the learning experience in Japan is quite interesting, the undergrad version, like it's almost like everything is sort of like it's very well structured, whereas I felt like the American universities are very random. Like
okay.
A lot of it is lottery, whereas in Japan, like at least just hearing from your story, I felt it was very well structured, and like the well-being of the students and making sure that they can take what they wanted was well thought of. Whereas in the US, it was just like, well, good luck to you, good luck in your journey, bye bye, kind of like that. So that's my part, I guess. What about you?
Yeah. A little bit on what you said though. Like I kind of agree on that part where they introduce like less randomness, and I also like that it's just there's not a lot of gimmicks that you have to pay attention to, just like to take the classes that you need to take to graduate. Like they don't give a lot of hurdles on that. So yeah, I agree with that. The takeaway from me, I mean, just like recounting like my experiences and hearing about yours, and I feel like a lot of like people could probably relate to this, is having a healthy relationship with grades, really. Yeah.
Very, very important.
Like
that's very huge.
It's important to recognize that indeed most scholarships would require to have good grades, because that is the metric in which they would measure, right? Like, is this kid I'm going to give money to gonna put this into good use? Like, well, it's fair for them to ask for that. And at the same time, you also need to develop like a healthy sense of self, a healthy relationship with grades, and which it can be hard if you, I don't know, I feel this is just an impression that I'm getting, but this is especially hard if you're going into like competitive programs, and like the programs that in the perspective of Asian parents is like the ones that make the money,
Of course, right.
People are like, like to them, like their parents' hopes and dreams are riding on that, and like they want to perform, they don't want to disappoint, because that was my experience doing that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like that was that, and then there was compounded with the stresses of like losing the scholarship. Like it was not only bad, it was counterproductive.
Right.
Like
the pressure you put on yourself.
Right. The pressure you put on yourself is detrimental to your performance, and it's just not good for your mental health in general.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, grades, it's important, but your life, your livelihood, your happiness is more important, fellas.
Yeah.
Getting A's are good, but make sure you're doing well to get those A's. Don't
This
stress
is
yourself out too much.
right. Don't. Like, it's, and I know, like, for some people who are deep in the trenches, like they're already in school, it's gonna be hard. But I don't know, like, talk with your friends, talk with a school counselor or something like that.
For sure, yeah.
Just realize that a bad grade is not the end of your life. All right, so that wraps up episode 1. That was quite a long one, quite a meaty one.
That was a fun episode, yeah.
For sure. It was. I had a lot of fun talking about it and, like,
Yeah.
remembering the good old times.
Truly, same here.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in, for listening. Well, if you like it, then leave it like, and in other streaming platforms, leave your 5 stars, how many ever stars you think we deserve, and leave some comments and reviews as well. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't really like, what you think we could improve. And if you're looking forward to the next episodes, then go ahead and click the subscribe and the follow button.
And yeah, guys, so thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next path.
See you in the next path.